Once again, I gotta hit you guys with a crazy story. You see this dude right here? He's a Southsider out of Indiana, but he's in the federal penal system in Virginia. And he actually linked up, and he's part of this indictment where he linked up with his neighborhood because he developed a connect in the federal penal system to weapons and drug traffic for somebody in the prison system. These group of men, some of them are young adults, and then he had a 16-year-old kid right here working for him as he did time in the feds to sell guns, to sell drugs, to move weapons across state lines, and to fund his neighborhood. And in exchange, his neighborhood was funding his no prison status as well as the connects that he was able to develop in the federal penal system. These kids were selling guns, pills, drugs on social media, utilizing Snapchat and Instagram. And the Fed sat there and watched and let these young adults and these teenage kids build a case on themselves. And it's a 90-page indictment, as you can see, where all these kids were displaying everything that they were selling on their social media. And that was enough evidence for the feds to crack down and bust these dudes. They didn't bust them with a lot of guns, but they busted them with a lot of pills and a lot of drugs, a couple of firearms. But these young teenage kids had access to AR-15s and AK-47s and ghost guns and were selling them online. Teens in this case are going to get tried as an adult, but just because you're getting tried as an adult doesn't mean you're going to get sentenced as an adult. The dude in the federal penal system, their big homie, he's already in the feds. You're just going to add additional time to somebody who's already in a position where he's spending the rest of his life in feds. And a lot of the young adults in this case got $30,000 bonds just for being in possession and selling firearms on social media. Now, me personally, my honest opinion, since I have came from that lifestyle and I understand the recklessness and carelessness of these young kids' mind frame, some of these young kids look at it like, man, they're too young to do any time, to do hard time, to do long periods of time, that they're just going to get a slap in the wrist by our judicial system because we're underage. We weren't thinking like adults. But my personal opinion, because I can't reach all these youths to change their minds, there's going to be a younger generation that's going to listen. There's going to be a lot of generation that you see on social media that doesn't want to listen, that got to learn things the hard way. So my personal opinion is this: if you're going to act like an adult, you're going to get treated like one. So if you're going to act like an adult, you can get sentenced like one, because some of these kids were selling guns to other teenagers that were gang members that could easily pull that trigger and kill another kid's life. Some of these young adults were selling guns to other adults that were beefing with their enemies so they can have their enemies killed. And they're posting pictures on social media displaying these guns to threaten enemies. So you want to act like an adult, then you're going to be held accountable as a criminal and take the sentences like any man should. Go do your time. Because giving these young adults $30,000 bails and these teenagers